All right, guys, welcome back to J Fabe Wrestling. And yeah, we are in WrestleMania season, so you know what that means. We got a lot of WrestleMania related videos. And yeah, I'm going to hit you with something different. There's no rebookings because I believe I finished all the WrestleMania rebookings, which is great. But we're going to do something different here. It's kind of like build your own card kind of vibe here. But I'm going to look at the first 10 WrestleMania. So, for example, WrestleMania 1 to 10. And then the next episode will be WrestleMania 11 to 20. Then WrestleMania 21 to 30. And then WrestleMania 31 to 40. And I'm going to pick a match from each WrestleMania. And I can only use the wrestler one time. So I can't, have multiple Randy Savage matches or multiple Shawn Michaels matches. I can only use them once on the card. But like, because it's I'm making a new card for, let's say, WrestleMania 11 to 20. I can use Shawn Michaels again in that card, but obviously in this card I can only use him one time. So yeah, I mean, let's get into it. So we're looking at WrestleMania 1 to WrestleMania 10 for this episode. And yeah, this was a bit tough because a lot of the great wrestlers like Randy Savage had multiple matches. You could pick him versus Steamboat. You could pick him versus Warrior. Hogan had a great match versus Savage versus Warrior. Him versus Andre, obviously. So it was a little bit tough here to kind of choose, but I tried my best to book the best card. And here we go. So the first WrestleMania, I choose the women's championship match: Leilani Kai versus Wendi Richter. I think this is a good pick here. Obviously, the main event is really the most recognized match here, but to be fair, you don't want to use Hogan in that match. He has better matches, in my opinion. So we couldn't really use that match. But yeah, I think still this would be a good match. You still have the star power here of Cyndi Lauper. She was involved in this feud as well. And I think it's good to have a women's match. And to be honest, this was probably the second biggest match on the card just because of the involvement of Cyndi Lauper. Other matches to consider was Andre versus Big John Studd, but I have Andre for something else a bit later. The tag match was good too. U.S. Express versus Sheik and Volkov. That was solid, but again, yeah, I think the star power of Cyndi Lauper definitely makes the women's match the one to choose from WrestleMania 1. All right, WrestleMania 2, we have Mr. T versus Roddy Piper. Yeah, this is what I chose. Obviously, it's not really the best match, but I'm just thinking of star power here. Um, to be honest, there wasn't really other way to get Roddy on the card. You could have him versus Adonis, but WrestleMania 3 has better options in my opinion. And then you could have him versus Bad News Brown, but I don't think that was a really good match to be honest. And obviously Mr. T is a much bigger star than Bad News Brown. And the other option was Brett for the Intercontinental Championship against Piper, but again, Brett also has other options as well, so it made it a little difficult here. So I thought this was a good slot to have Mr. T and Roddy Piper. I don't know if you guys seen the WWE Rivals documentary on this feud, but yeah, it was really engaging. Obviously, there was real heat between the two, and yeah, just the star power here. It's kind of cool. You get the celebrity match as well, boxing match, something different. I think it was good. WrestleMania 2, they also had the option of the Bulldogs versus the Dream Team, which was definitely I was definitely considering it. I don't have a tag team title match here, unfortunately, but yeah, I was definitely considering it. But I wanted to use Greg Valentine somewhere else, which is crazy. But yeah, so yeah, the WrestleMania 2 match is Mr. T versus Roddy Piper. All right, so the WrestleMania 3 match, we have Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. So this is where I used the title match here. Um, yeah, obviously it's not the best match, but the significance, the history, just the moment itself, probably one of the top WrestleMania moments when Hogan slams Andre, and just the build towards this feud. I think definitely deserves it. Obviously, Hogan had other matches, like I mentioned before, but those other guys had other things, like Savage and Warrior, they had other matches. So to be honest, against each other, we're gonna talk about that later. But yeah, just this is probably one of the biggest main events of all time, um, literally and figuratively. And obviously the feud was great, with Andre turning on Hogan, ripping his cross or his necklace, whatever it was, ripping the Hulkamania shirt. Um, so yeah, I think there are other options again. IC Championship, Savage and Steamboat. I was really thinking about that, but yeah, to be honest, there wasn't really much other title matches to use if I did that. So, because Savage fought Hogan at 5, and then WrestleMania 6 had the Intercontinental Championship also on the line, so that would have um, kind of not. I wouldn't be able to use that match as well. So that's why I had to go with Hogan Andre. But I think it was a good pick for WrestleMania 3. All right, WrestleMania 4. Ricky Steamboat versus Greg Valentine. So yeah, I said I was gonna use Greg Valentine later, and I did. And honestly, this is probably the best tournament match here, aside from the main event. You got Ricky Steamboat on the card. Greg Valentine, he was a good worker, and he was important in those early WrestleManias. So yeah, I think this was a nice choice, considering that I didn't get the Dream Team Bulldogs match, but I still got Steamboat on the card against Greg Valentine. Other options, to be honest, there was not much because it was a tournament, so a lot of these guys, wrestled multiple times, so the matches weren't that good, to be honest. I mean, you could do Jake versus Rick Rude here to get the star power, but that match wasn't that good either. Yeah, and there wasn't really much other singles matches aside from the tournament here, so yeah, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Greg the Hammer Valentine for WrestleMania 4. All right, WrestleMania 5, we got the Strike Force versus the Brainbusters. Yeah, I thought this was a pretty easy pick here, just considering the options. Obviously, can't use Hogan and Savage, can't use Warrior and Rude because I'm using Warrior for something else. Yeah, it sucks Rick Rude couldn't be on the card here, and yeah, I thought this was good. You get Tito and Rick Martel, great tag team there. Two guys that are very important to the early years of WrestleMania, especially Tito Santana. And then you get the Brainbusters. You get Tully and Arn. These guys are obviously made their name in the NWA, but they're also big stars here. And this is a really good match. And then you also get the heel turn of Rick Martel, so we get a nice little moment as well on the card here. So yeah, WrestleMania 5, the Strike Force versus the Brainbusters. WrestleMania 6, I chose Brutus Beefcake versus Mr.Perfect. Yeah, again, there was other matches here, but I couldn't really use them because other people I will use a bit later. But I thought it was good to get Mr. Perfect on the card. He definitely deserved it. And Brutus Beefcake, some people like him, some people don't, but he was a big star in the first years of WrestleMania. And obviously, this would have been for the IC Championship, but Warrior was a current champion, and he was fighting against Hogan, title for title. But yeah, this was a good match to pick, in my opinion. WrestleMania 6, Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Mr. Perfect. WrestleMania 7, this was a layup here, retirement match. Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage. So yeah, this was what made it difficult because Savage had a lot of matches you want to use. Obviously, him versus Steamboat, him versus Hogan, heck, even him versus Dusty in the mixed tag match with Sherry and Sapphire. Like, you could have used that as well, But this was obviously the best match, I think, in the first 10 WrestleManias, in my opinion. Just the storytelling here with Warrior, taking all those elbows from Savage, but, Savage can't win. And then Warrior eventually getting the win there. And then obviously the storytelling with Liz and Sherry after the match where Liz saves Savage from Sherry's attack. I think it was just a great moment. Probably one of the best WrestleMania moments. So think about this. I got the body slam, and then I got, Savage and Liz reuniting. I think this is, again, a great pick. Easy pick. WrestleMania 7, retirement match. Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage. WrestleMania 8. Again, there's quite a few options here. There's that 8-man tag match. That was fun. this was another title match to consider: Ric Flair versus Randy Savage. Um, Obviously, if you don't use Ric Flair here, you can't use him in this card because it's the only WrestleMania he participated in. And I was really thinking, I was really wanted to, but it was just that, um, yeah. I mean, the problem with Hogan is he's in almost all the title matches. So, and his matches that he weren't for the title, I mean, they weren't that good to be honest. So that was tough. And Savage again at the him versus Warrior, I feel like you can't not choose that match. So couldn't go with that. Obviously didn't want to go with Hogan and Sid. That wasn't really that good of a match. Brett versus Piper was an option, but again, I have Brett for something later. 2 years later. I think you guys probably know what that match is. So yeah, I chose Undertaker versus Jake Roberts. You get Undertaker on the card, which is great, and then you get Jake Roberts, who again definitely deserves to be on the card. One of the key contributors in the early years of WrestleMania, and this was a great feud. Undertaker, um, leaving the dark side because Jake Roberts is just too crazy. He saves, I believe, Liz from the chair. Um, so yeah, I think good match to have here on WrestleMania 8: The Undertaker versus Jake Roberts. WrestleMania 9. Again, this was people say one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, and it was, yeah. I mean, it wasn't good, but there were some good things here. One of the good things is the IC Championship match: Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka. So this is the match I chose. I was thinking about Mr. Perfect versus Lex Luger, but obviously I couldn't use Perfect because I used him in WrestleMania 6. And people were saying this was the best match on WrestleMania 9. I might have to agree. I mean, aside from the finish, obviously Tatanka won by countout, but this was still a pretty solid match, and you get Shawn Michaels on the card. So that was another issue I had was WrestleMania 10 obviously had the ladder match and then Brett versus Owen. So I wanted to use both matches, and then I thought, if I use the ladder match, where will I put Brett? Because I can't use Brett versus Piper because that's for the same title. So I kind of had to work things around. I still got Shawn on the card. I still got the IC title on the card. It's Shawn versus Tatanka. Obviously, it's not as great as these other IC title matches, but it's still very good. So yeah, WrestleMania 9, Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka for the Intercontinental Championship. And yeah, that pretty much leaves WrestleMania 10. I'm pretty sure you guys all know what it is. It's Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. Again, the other option was Shawn versus Razor, but because the title made it difficult to have, again, other matches. I chose Brett versus Owen. And this is probably the best opener of all time. Brother versus brother. Great build here. When they start as a tag team, and then Owen kicks Brett's leg out of his leg, as he said. And yeah, just the reversals here, and obviously the shocking win of Owen Hart here. This would probably be my opener in the card here. So yeah, guys, that is my card for the first 10 WrestleManias. I believe I did not double book anybody, but yeah, let me know if I missed anything. So yeah, I'm going to run down the card for you guys right now. WrestleMania 1 for the Women's Championship, Leilani Kai versus Wendi Richter with Cyndi Lauper. WrestleMania 2, the boxing match, Mr.T versus Roddy Piper. WrestleMania 3, the WWF Championship, the main event, Hulk Hogan defending against Andre the Giant. WrestleMania 4, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. WrestleMania 5 tag team match, the Strike Force versus the Brainbusters. WrestleMania 6, Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Mr. Perfect. WrestleMania 7, the retirement match, Ultimate Warrior versus Randy the Macho Man Savage. WrestleMania 8, The Undertaker versus Jake Roberts. WrestleMania 9, the Intercontinental Championship, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka. And WrestleMania 10, Brother versus Brother, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Owen Hart. So yeah, again, guys, just look at this card. I have probably 2 5-star matches with Savage and Warrior, and then Bret and Owen. And then I have, solid matches, I think, Shawn and Tatanka, Taker, Roberts, Ricky versus Valentine, Strike Force versus Brain. These are all solid matches. Brutus versus Perfect might be one of the worst matches on the card, but you still got star power there. And then obviously, the main event, Andre versus Hogan, the star power there. And then I still have mr.t and Piper, and then obviously Cyndi Lauper's participation in the women's match. So I think star power wise, I think this card is off the charts, and I even think match wise, this card is off the charts. Probably have three of the greatest WrestleMania matches. You can say what you want about Hogan versus Andre, but at the time, it was definitely one of the greatest WrestleMania matches. Then you have Savage and Warrior again, the storytelling with Liz. And then obviously Brett versus Owen, the storytelling there, when Owen finally gets the win over Brett. So yeah, guys, that is my fantasy card for the first 10 WrestleManias. Let me know what card you guys would make. And if you agree or disagree with my card, yeah. Appreciate it. Catch you on the next one. Peace.